President Zurabishvili, welcome to our country. You're the first Georgian president who visited Macedonia. And yesterday, you signed this agreement of visa liberalization with Mr. Bendarovsky. What are the next steps to further our cooperation between two countries?
Well, we signed two things. I signed visa liberalization with the president, and our cultural ministers signed a memorandum on cultural exchanges and education, which is also very important. These are two things that will make it easier for our citizens to first travel, get to know each other, but also to start trade, common projects, cooperation in different fields. That is the first step, and I'm sure that we will see pretty sure results about that. And by the way, this morning I had a message in my inbox from a Georgian citizen saying, well, you are in Macedonia, it's the one country with which we do not have visas, liberalization, what are you doing? So I said, fine, it's done.
So 1 year ago, Macedonia became NATO member, and I believe that you are on the same path. What can Macedonia do to help your country to become NATO member, and what will NATO mean for the security of your country, and how it would affect the region you live in?
First of all, the fact itself that Macedonia joined NATO last year is for us very important because it means that the open door policy, which has been announced on and on again, is a real open door. And that is very important for the Georgian population because we are waiting for this process of integration. And the fact that it looks like something that is reachable for another small country like Macedonia or Georgia means for us that it is reachable. So it has only reinforced the expectations. As you know, we have achieved quite a lot in the sense of standardization, interoperability with NATO, and practically we are told in the organization that we have achieved all the steps that are necessary to become a member. But of course, there are political issues still.
And there is, sorry to interfere, a pandemic. The situation of health crisis is going on and everything is stopped.
Everything is stopped, and it makes everything more difficult, and especially more difficult for small countries. We have seen our visits being limited. That's why I'm so very glad to be here and to show that we are starting again this process. But it has certainly slowed down many things. But we are still expecting the summit, that is NATO summit, that is going to take place on the 14th of June with the presence of the President of the United States. We have heard very promising statements made by the new administration at the time of the change of administration regarding Georgia and NATO. And we think that the answer to what has been happening in the region of the Caucasus, as well as what has been happening on the border of Ukraine, the answer to the very dire situation that we have in our occupied territories, where Russia has been pursuing borderization and hostage-taking, that the answer to all of that is a progress in the process of integration. That is the only very real but very non-confrontational answer to all these provocations. So as we are optimists, we are waiting. We know that it won't happen from one day to the other, but we are looking at that as a very concrete ambition of ours, and we're sure that it will happen for Georgia as the same way as it happened for Macedonia.
Both of our countries are striving to join the European Union. Macedonia is a candidate country for almost 15 years, and Georgia has to apply for membership. I think 2024 is the year.
Right.
Yes. How can we convince our European partner to keep the door open for new members?
Well, it's the same thing. I'm sure that for Macedonia, it will happen very soon. I know that there are obstacles, but I'm sure that these obstacles are going to be overcome. Again, that will be a proof for Georgia that this European Union door is open. The accession process is much more complicated with the European Union than it is with NATO, where we have done most of the things that have to be done.
Yes.
We are aware of the fact that these reforms and the different measures that have to be taken are time-consuming and also budget-consuming, and that's where we need support. So I would say that with the European Union, what is more maybe important today is that we need support now, and we are very reassured by the fact that very recently we had the engagement of the European Union through the President of the European Council that came to Georgia in order to help us solve a political crisis that was threatening to really paralyze the country. The fact that he took it upon himself to come and solve this issue, help us mediate this issue, shows that Georgia is important for the European Union, because I think it has not been done anywhere else. And per se, it is something that gives us much hope, because it shows that the European Union has interest in the region, interest in the stability of the region, political stability, and in the economic development. And we are very hopeful that we will see in the coming period major infrastructural projects with the European Union. We have to see physical rapprochement with the European Union. That will be the way towards European integration.
We were blocked by Bulgaria, you know about the history
I know
dispute. Are you worried about this power of veto in EU for next enlargements?
Well, we are not in the EU, so it's very difficult for us from outside to say what should be the rules of procedures for decisions within the EU. But since I'm an optimist, I can only look at the past, and you have overcome a similar attempt to veto for entering NATO. So that's why I'm quite sure that the realism will win in the end, and that these vetoes, when they are not founded on serious political grounds, in the end cannot last for very long. So I wish you an early resumption of these accession talks.
Nevertheless, we've done all the reforms.
I know.
But this is a new condition.
I know, and that's the organization that we have to enter with its internal rules and internal procedures, which we cannot change from the outside. But I think that the majority has finally some influence on the decisions of everyone. So that's why in the end I think that we will see. I'll be back to see the result, and we'll celebrate with you the start of the accession talks.
Madam President, last question. How is your country coping with current health crisis, and what about the vaccination process in your country?
Well, we are like all the small countries. If we start with vaccination, we have had quite some disappointment because we had agreements that were delayed. We didn't see the level of solidarity that we were expecting, including from our European friends. And we have to cope with a situation in which, in the end, we had to take the Chinese vaccines because we didn't get enough of the other products. But all in all, I think that during this time, it means that the anti-vaccines maybe are not that vocal as they were before, because anyway, there is not enough to force anyone. So, and gradually they're understanding that it's probably better than the risks that we are encountering. We are still in what is called probably a third phase. We have been lucky to have a first very low
Rate.
first wave. The second one was more serious. And the third one is still under control, but we don't know whether it will still reach another peak or not. We have been lucky in the sense that our health system has resisted. So we have not seen any of the things that we've seen elsewhere of overcrowded hospitals. But we have to keep our fingers crossed. We have been lucky. I hope we'll remain lucky, and I hope we'll see the end of this crisis, because for us as a touristic country,
you are planning to reopen your country?
We have reopened already to people that have received vaccines and PCR tests, and gradually we're seeing that some of this tourist inflow is restarting, but it's very slow yet, and it's very necessary for our economy. So now that we have this liberalization, I hope that Macedonian tourists will come and discover Georgia this summer.
Madam President, thank you for your time.
And you yourself, you're welcome to Georgia.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.